Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Grab your favorite bevy, pull up a chair, and enjoy the ride. Hey, B&B fam. This podcast is sponsored to you by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Is there something getting in the way of your happiness? I know when I traveled the world, I had many days where BetterHelp's worldwide service of licensed professional therapists could have helped me speak to someone no matter where I was in the world about whatever was happening with my life, and with zero judgment. With their ability to match me with a therapist that best fits me, I know my mental health would have been way better back then. Believe me, I needed it. But I'm here to share a way for you to take back control of your mental health by telling you about BetterHelp's awesome services they have for you to talk with a pro about your life through their app or just online. Whether it is a video session or some simple messaging, their team is here to help. I went to check out the app for myself just to see how easy it was to use, and after a series of questions, I was told I would be able to start matching with a therapist in under 48 hours. And what is super rad is that it's affordable and they even offer financial aid too. So come join the 2 million users that have already been helped and gain back control of your mental health by visiting betterhelp.com/backyards for 10% off your first month. Remember, BetterHelp is therapy done securely online. Don't forget to use the special code BACKYARDS and let BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, help you to start living a happier life today. And we're live here at Backyards and Bevvies.
Yes.
That was a long pause.
It was a very long pause. I was wondering what was happening.
I was thinking about changing the name to like Kitchens and Bevvies because this is the third
name of the show
episode.
is Backyards and Bevvies. It's
just a technical term, right?
The Inside Edition.
Yeah, the Inside Edition.
It's fine.
I used to watch Inside Edition.
Did you?
Well, it'd be on in hotel rooms, and I'd find myself, like when you get there and you turn it on in the middle of the day, there's not a lot on. You have like Judge Judy.
It was like a 60 Minutes type of thing, wasn't it?
It was like basically opening an inquiry. It was like the TMZ back in the day.
Oh.
It would just, they'd give you like Hollywood inside junk and stuff like
I
that.
don't think I ever watched it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But speaking of things that we were talking about earlier that we were going to talk about today, we're always watching, like whether we're always watching. I mean, literally.
That's not creepy at all.
We're
always watching.
But we are. I mean, like we're always looking at stuff and doing things. But, like when you and me relax, we like to watch a movie or a TV show.
We usually watch a lot of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. We also eat the same thing over and over again.
Don't have to pay a whole lot of attention. If we fall asleep, it's fine.
Well, we're
parents.
And we're busy. We're doing a lot of things,
Yeah.
We have a lot on our plate. And so last night we found ourselves, our little dude was sick.
Yeah.
You were not feeling 100%.
Sorry if I'm extra sniffly today. I know that I sniffle anyways, but sorry, everybody.
Yeah, I can't cut that out.
Nope.
Just a lot of nose whistling and
nose noise. I can't help it.
yeah, there's no mic in the world that gets rid of nose noise. My nose noise is obnoxious.
It is. Sorry.
It's noisy. But we were chilling on the couch and little dude went to bed and we said, well, we should probably get to bed early because we had a big day. And
yeah,
I turned to you like I do most nights and I said, what would you like to watch? And
I said, whatever you want to watch. Which is very helpful, I know.
No, it's such a nice sentiment. Oh, whatever you would
whatever
like, dear.
You would like. Except not that, and not that.
Oh, no, let's not go down that path.
Archie Handsome is back.
Let's not watch that. And so, sure enough, we decided we were scrolling, and like we've seen the F1 show a billion times. We've watched Top Chef a bunch, and we like sports stuff. And so, we stumbled onto Amazon Prime. And their service, it's like any others, I was like, oh, cool. There's a nice thumbnail, and it was Arsenal.
Yeah, and this is like the first, actually, I think, Amazon Prime series that we've started.
Yeah,
I can't really think of like a Prime series that we've ever really been like, oh, let's watch this. So
yeah,
this
we've never really been a Prime series watchers. it's more Netflix has good stuff for that. Well, they used to.
Yeah, I mean,
Drive to Survive. Let's be honest.
And Chef's Table.
F1. Yeah,
that's about it.
So we stumbled upon this.
And Stranger Things, of course.
Yeah, but that's not a reality show. Like,
Okay.
these are reality shows.
Oh, okay.
And I always hate like getting on those platforms and you scroll. I can probably end up like 30 minutes deep.
It
of
takes just as long as
scrolling.
finding something as it does to watch something.
Oh my gosh! And so last night though, we stumbled upon this pretty quick, and we were like, well, I mean,
It's an hour. We're gonna make it.
it is. Yeah, well, because we said, well, do you want to watch a full movie? We both were like, no.
No.
But then you get into these shows, and they can trap you.
I wanted to watch the second episode.
I
Last
know,
night,
and
but
that would have
I
been
didn't
2
say anything.
hours.
I know.
So I like Arsenal, and
do.
I'm pretty sure that I was the one that got you into Arsenal. And if you don't know who Arsenal is, they are an English football team, and that
As
is
in soccer.
Soccer.
Yes.
Yeah, with the round ball, not the oblong shaped
Pigskin?
one.
Yeah.
Pigskin.
I
looking
had
thing.
never watched a soccer game willingly.
Yeah.
Until I started dating you, and you were so into Arsenal, and anytime you were home from the road,
Mhm.
it was like, oh, Saturday mornings.
Well, it's a Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes they're on Wednesday.
I
mean,
know. So if you were around and
Yeah.
it was available, we would have it on. There is still so much about the rules that I do not understand.
Same here.
But I root for Arsenal. I like Arsenal. And so we started this series last night called All or Nothing Arsenal.
I'm a bandwagoner. Like, I didn't grow up in England. I've been to England a
that's okay.
bunch. I mean, I have some English friends that are amazing. They don't like Arsenal. But when I toured with an up-and-coming artist, she'll be big one day. Her name's Carrie Underwood. Her security guard, Ricky, was a diehard.
Oh, okay.
Diehard Arsenal fan.
Did
Like,
Ricky grow up in England?
I think he grew up next to their old stadium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and I'm not even going to try to pretend like I know all the names to these places because, like I said, I bandwagoned on.
Mhm.
I love Arsenal. Like, they are my team. I will go see them one day live
Yes.
in person at the Emirates Stadium.
Yes.
But the tradition of them has been around since the 1800s.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, though, if you think about English football in general. I mean, that is people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is movies about it. There's multiple series about it.
What's that movie you wanted me to watch?
Green Street Hooligans.
That one. All right, so we have to watch that.
And what's funny about that movie is it's about and so the English Premier League is the top league, and there's leagues across. There's like the Bundesliga League, which is German, and there's League One, which is Italian, and then there's
La Liga.
La
right?
Liga, which is Spanish, and then there's obviously the MX League that's Mexican, and so every country obviously has their own football team.
We have a league in the United States.
It's the Major League Soccer, and
Nashville has a team in it now.
Nashville has a
which is
team.
awesome.
Yeah.
Nashville Soccer
and
Club.
they're
Woo.
doing pretty decent from what I mean. We used to have season tickets
When
and
they
then
first started.
we just never went, and so we said, nah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so every team has, their thing. English Premier League football, I think, is, I'm going to say a number, and I'm probably wrong, but maybe it's been around for a while.
I mean, they were saying on the episode last night that it'd been 100 years.
So I don't know how long they've been scoring it the way they have. I mean, I'm sure that it's changed over the years, but some greats came out there. David Beckham and Cristiano Ronaldo and Thierry Henry and all.
And that's who was on the episode last night.
Yeah, and he was
right?
an Arsenal player that then came over and played like MLB, or not MLB.
I was like, he played baseball? Played MLS.
MLS for the Red Bull team in New York.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so it's a giant tradition, and each part of the UK, so the English Premier League is strictly in the UK, and there's teams all over, and they're all fighting to be in the English Premier League, right?
Okay.
And so that Green Street Hooligans movie is about West Ham United, and they're in the league, and they're usually middle Sometimes they're towards the bottom, but they're in the league and they compete with all these teams. But they definitely, in the movie that one of the guys goes on to explain, like, oh, well, we're no Arsenal, we're no Chelsea, and, we're no...
So that was back when Arsenal was good.
They were good for a long time.
They were. We're building.
But we are,
we're rebuilding
even though it hasn't been what it was for... Arsenal had Wenger, which was their head coach forever, and he took them to some championships. He had them.
Was it with him that they had that undefeated season?
Yeah, they had an undefeated season.
Which is crazy because there's a lot of games, aren't there?
A lot of games.
Yeah,
a lot of games. And I mean, it's incredible that they went like that. And then he also had them in what's called the Champions League. So the Champions League is comprised of European teams that maybe it's I could be wrong, but I feel like even there's Spain, I would say all
top teams from each of the leagues.
Yeah, so each La Liga and all those and League One and all of them, they send their top four, and so same with the Premier League,
the Champions League.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so for again, don't quote me on it, 20 plus years, they had never not been in it. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're not in it.
And is Premier League, did you say is that UK only?
Yeah, English Premier League only.
Gotcha.
And it's really popular. I mean, it's really taken off. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of bars in the United States that are English Premier League bars, that are, because over there, you don't go into a bar and they're like, oh, well, we support Chelsea and Arsenal. It's no.
One or the other.
We support only this one. And then it'd be like walking into Buffalo Wild Wings here and you're like, hey, can you put on the Dallas Cowboys? They're like, sorry, we only
support the Tennessee Titans.
We only do the Titans
We live in Tennessee.
Exactly. And so it's very, very, there's a lot of deep history. If your family is Arsenal, you're probably not allowed to marry someone from Tottenham.
Oh.
Maybe nowadays it's it's probably eased up a little bit.
But it would be some intense family matchups.
Well, and that's what interested me when I met Ricky. He would talk about, obviously he had an English accent, and he would talk about his times as, a young kid growing up watching Arsenal. And to me, soccer was boring. I didn't really get it. I played it a tiny bit when I was a kid. So to me, thinking of it, I always just pictured that Simpsons episode again, where it's they're just passing it in a triangle for an hour, and Homer's like, "Okay, I'm over this."
Except it's even longer than an hour.
Yeah, it's 90
minutes.
90 minutes,
and then any additional penalty minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, it can be a boring game. I mean, it's like any sport that you watch on TV that's boring. It can be boring. Or it can be super, super intense and you're just on the edge of your seat the entire time. But I always thought it was boring forever. And then 2013, so I was I think I toured with Carrie 2011, 2012, something like that. And 2013, I hadn't seen Green Street Hooligans yet. I hadn't even really cared to know that there was other teams. I just kept hearing Arsenal this. Maybe I knew about Man City and Man United because obviously
they're massive.
Well, yeah, and their marketing is genius. So you see them regardless if you know what football is or not.
Right.
And so, yeah, and so, here I am, 2013, I get this call. All right, we need you to go do this gig in London. And I'm like, okay, what is it? They're like, it's Green Day. You're at the Emirates Stadium. And still, even
the old Emirates Stadium?
No, the new one. So they tore they didn't tear it completely down. They turned it into apartment complexes.
That's cool.
They kept, there is a history. I think there was a clock that was there that really meant a lot to the team. Either they took the clock and moved it to the new stadium and kept the clock kind of structure so it looks the same.
So the new stadium's not really new anymore.
No, it's.
I mean, if you did a show there in 2013.
Yeah, I mean, it's 10 years old at least.
Gotcha.
And then probably add another 5 years on that.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, it's a newer stadium.
Got it.
Yeah, so I get this call and they're like, all right, you're going to go do this gig. I was like the second SE on it, so I didn't really have a whole lot of responsibility. I was kind of shadowing someone, so it was like, I think we were there for like 6 days.
Wow.
Because it was a big stadium. There was a lot of delays. I mean, it's a massive. These establishments here. I mean, you're talking like, you know, Wembley can hold like over 100,000 people,
right,
easily,
right,
for a concert, and then so that's where they hold like big tournaments in London. So they're called like derbies. So like a London derby would be Chelsea and Arsenal. But instead of playing at one of their home stadiums, they would go play
at a neutral,
potentially,
quote-unquote,
sometimes.
stadium.
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they play at their stadiums.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, so, you know, hearing Ricky tell stories of these soccer hooligans and all the fun, I was like, ooh, okay, well, wait, hold on. So I did a little research, like you would when you get a tour. I'm like, okay, Green Day. It was like Green Day, All Time Low. Oh, someone else too. It was like, I don't know. It was a fun show. Anyway, so I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. So then, you know, I look up where it's at. I'm like, oh, Arsenal. Oh, I'm playing at the Arsenal Stadium. Well, that's kind of cool. And we were right down the street from it. So, and European stuff is weird. Like, you know, you picture like, oh, if I'm staying next to Cowboy Stadium, there's like a Holiday Inn.
Right.
And I can just pick up and walk over there. A lot of these areas are really tight. You know, there's like train stations that take you there because it's easier to get there via train than it is to drive, because the only parking lot is inside or under the stadium and stuff like that. So it's not like I thought that I could walk there every day, but it wasn't. It was still, there was
not
like
really
construction happening. So during the day I would end up walking around a lot, but I was excited. I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll understand this football soccer thing that everyone's talking about. And sure enough, I walk in and it is red as can be, because their colors are red and white. And I'm wearing their away kit, which is like they change it, you know, a lot.
You guys say it's an old away kit, right?
Yeah, this one's old sponsors. And but oh my gosh, I walk in and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a giant cannon in the seats. I'm like, this is kind of cool, actually. And their nicknames is the Gunners. Like some people say Gooners, and you know, but I was like, all right, I can kind of start to get behind this. So, you know, like I said, we're there for 5 or 6 days. Can't remember exactly, but the show was only one day. So if I was there for 4 of those days were load-in days, and then like 2 and then load out. No, just and then a one, show, and then the next, and then after that. So maybe it was only 5, but and then just a show, and then load out that night, and then be gone, and then I would have traveled the next day. So it was a quick one, but we set up fairly quick. There was a couple bobbles. I remember. We had like all these speakers. We were bringing in speakers. They were already on tour. I was just coming in as a supplement.
For this particular show.
And we had to supplement in some of these bigger speakers that we had. And when we pulled them off all the trucks, because there's a UK shop too. So, you know, Claire UK brought in some stuff. And I think Audio Rent, which is the Switzerland shop, sent up some stuff. We were getting it all out of the trucks, and you know, there was numbers 2.5, 5s, and 10s. Doesn't matter what they did, but we ended up putting all the 10s on one side on accident because we just weren't paying attention. So then we had to then they built the stage, so we had to physically unhook them one by one and move them from one side of the stage to the other. So one day we were there really, really long, and everyone was pretty annoyed.
I'm sure.
But then we went to the pub, and it was like, oh, cool, let's have some English beers and some, you know, fish and chips. And this is amazing.
Fish and chips.
I like fish and chips, but I don't like the vinegar on it.
Oh, I do. Malt vinegar is delicious.
No, I salted up extra, and then a little.
You and your salt.
Ketchup.
It's like the only time you like ketchup?
I'm not a big. Wendy's French fries.
Really? Only Wendy's French fries?
I don't know why. Yeah, Wendy's French fries. I used to watch one of my friends just dump salt into his ketchup, and then he would dunk like the...
Oh my goodness.
There's something super delicious about it.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so whatever. So then the next day, let's just say I came in, and it wasn't as busy because we'd spent the day before just getting our asses handed to us.
Yeah.
Literally. And it was so funny too. The front of house guy turned the speakers on that night, and he was like, "That side sounds way different than this side." And we all were like, "Why? I don't understand. We must have done something." And then someone was like, "Duh."
Oops.
Oops.
Too many pints the night before.
Yeah, probably. And I think, yeah, it was one of those. But then, the next day we had all this time to walk the venue and look around, and I had to say it was so cool because, you know, you go to football stadiums here, and there might be areas of history. There might be like small little areas, but for the majority of stadiums, it's a lot of just advertisement.
For sure.
Advertisement. Yeah. Drink this. Go see this show. Go do this. Their walls were lined with history. It was awesome. Super cool. I just remember like being like, oh wow, like, and so I would just stop and I'd be like, oh, I got to go listen to this section of the stadium. And I'd get lost in a wall, just like, whoa, in 19 blah 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 blah, this person did this. And
I wonder if that's because of how long the club has been around. Like for example, if you go to Fenway Park, like my favorite place on earth, and you wander Fenway Park, it's not on every level necessarily, but on one, maybe it's on the suite level, I can't remember, but they have like tons of memorabilia and historical information and stuff like that, and it's just like, this is insane. I mean, maybe it's been around for 100+ years.
I will say, Fenway did have some really cool, like even in the locker room, they had really old shots of players that are just, you know, legends.
That was so cool when you took me in there.
It was pretty cool. You signed the wall inside the green monster.
I did.
I wrote "Forever Texas Rangers. Nolan Ryan is the best pitcher in the world."
You did not. I was wigging when I got to go inside the green monster. Oh, you would.
I didn't.
I was going to say, how dare you desecrate Fenway Park?
You'll never know.
I'll go back and look. I can get back in there.
I did not. Okay. That would have been disrespectful of me.
Very disrespectful.
But yeah, maybe that is true. Because I can look at, like, you know, every arena and every place has some memorabilia. Some. This was everywhere, though. It just felt different.
Right.
So that to me was really cool. So then all of a sudden, all the stories that Ricky had told me, and then, you know, my friend Steven Carter, he's a big Man City person. He would talk about Man City all the time. And I'd be like, oh, okay. You know, like, I don't get it. Sure. Sounds English.
Sure.
Sounds like a warm beer.
Oh, gross.
But yeah, there was something that just struck me, and all of a sudden I wanted to know more. And so slowly from 2013 to now, I've become more of a Arsenal fan. And I'm still like I guess you could say a happy Arsenal fan when they win, and then if I can't watch it, I don't really care because it's not the most pressing thing in my world.
Yeah. I feel like you used to be more intense about it.
I think just other things have come up, you know, like I think I used to be into a lot more like sports stuff just because Saturdays I used to somehow get that time to myself somehow, even on the road, which was weird. Maybe it was like when I toured on the pop tours and stuff, I would find myself on Saturdays, be able to watch college football more. Like I love the Texas Longhorns. Right. But yeah, so over the years, though, maybe some of it was that Arsenal just slowly kind of sucked. and I was like, well, I never was a diehard, so I kind of only really like watching them when they win. But then I kind of like watching them all the time. But then I was like, well, maybe I'm the reason they're losing because I watch them. So maybe if I don't watch them, they'll win.
I think every fan has gone through that.
Oh my God,
that feeling at some point. You're like, with their team.
We were going to do it, and then I've never watched a game on a Friday at 3 p.m., and this Friday I watched it, and they lost.
It was like I didn't watch an entire Carolina Panthers season because I thought I was the reason that they were losing. They still lost. And I missed out on watching one of my favorite sports of all time.
And yeah, so
very silly.
But that is exactly how I kind of felt. So yeah, I think part of it was they're shit.
Yeah.
I just would rather just not have a losing day and just go watch freaking anything other than that. But yeah, so over the years though, I've like always loved them. I've owned a good handful of their jerseys because I do like supporting them.
You sent me a bunch of them.
Yeah, I mean, I dig them. I like them. I will always like Arsenal, and like I said, I will always go see them. But I also do like, like I really enjoy players as well, because I think that to me is always been inspiring me to watch someone really good take control and then really shine. And so there for a hot minute, there were a bunch of players on Arsenal that I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are great. And then slowly all these transfers happened, and, and then life catches up, and I think I missed part of the season. So then all of a sudden these new faces were in there, and I was like, haven't been paying attention. And then some of these new faces started shining. I was like, okay, well, I'm
gonna like these.
I need to pay attention. I need to figure it out. And then they started like getting injured, and then COVID, and then there was all this weirdness, but we're back.
We're back.
We are. I feel like there was something last year. I started watching the games again last year because we had time because of COVID and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make the effort. And sure enough, like first 3 games they lost.
They didn't just lose; they got shut out.
Shut out, yeah.
Completely shut out.
Completely shut out. And I remember being like, oh, this is going to be a long season. And then all of a sudden, I think I was working at the warehouse on Saturday, so I would miss some games. And so I didn't get to see them all, but I would like try to pay attention as much as I could on my phone via apps and all the things. And the interwebs are amazing.
Yes,
watch whatever. And so there they were. They started to like climb back up. They were in last place for a hot minute.
Dead last. And we learned on the episode last night that if they lost their 4th game in a row at the beginning of the season, they would have been the worst start to a season in league history. Yeah. Not team history, league history. Yeah. Thankfully, they won their
pretty
4th
brutal
game.
But without scoring a goal, I mean, there was all these bad things happening. Yeah. And another thing that was really cool is, they brought back one of their old players to coach. So that to me was another one of those moments, because I'd watched this story about Bournemouth, and they were like League 4 worst team ever, about ready to like just shut the doors. Like, we are done. Thanks for showing up. You guys played for 80 years, but you
obviously can't get it together.
Yeah. Even the water boy doesn't want to work here. And then they got a player to come back that I think grew up there, played for them. I forget his name. He's still coaching from what I can tell, but I don't really follow them at all. So I'd be lying. But they ended up making it all the way into the Premier League. So they went from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 and then into the Premier League. And they've actually done fairly well over the last few years.
Yeah, they're still in the Premier League, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they got relegated maybe like 2 years ago, but they're back in.
But they're back.
Yeah, because you can bounce down and you can come back. But like a team like Arsenal and Chelsea and Man United, those teams have been in the Premier League for a long time.
Right.
And probably a lot of the reason is they have money. They have a lot of backing. They have a lot of people that support them, that put money into it, that they buy. Like these stadiums aren't cheap. Tottenham's new stadium was like a $1.5 billion or $1 billion stadium.
Well, I couldn't believe what they were saying in the episode last night about how much money they spent on transfers last season. Just in this one window of time, they said it was like 153 million pounds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which is, it's more than that in US dollars.
Yeah. But to us, it sounds crazy because we look at our big sports as baseball and football. And so to us, it's like, well, no one's going to blink an eye when Tom Brady signs a $200 million contract. And people are like, oh, well, he's the greatest football player ever to walk. Same goes for them over there. They're looking at this saying, well, if we're going to win, we have to. And they're on such a bigger scale, too, because the English Premier League is watched like around the world. Not everybody watches the NFL.
American football, 100%.
So it's a completely different game played, and it's a completely different ballgame when you start to hear the money that is involved. Because
crazy.
I mean, like, take Cristiano Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
He was he was at Madrid, and then I think he went Madrid. I can't remember the other one, but I mean, like, he just went back to Man United.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the number that he signed,
A lot.
but I guarantee you there was 2 zeros behind whatever the first number was.
For sure. For sure.
and that is, and him, Messi, like Neymar, and Neymar and Messi used to play in Barcelona together,
Mm-hmm.
and those 3 have always consistently been on like the top, on like the highest paid
Mm-hmm.
players per year for endorsements and contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, their contracts are like $50 million contracts a year just to start. That's not
Crazy.
including like clothing and
Right.
It is amazing because a lot of these kids have been playing since they were like 4,
Right.
2, and some of them, like, I think Messi went over to Barcelona when he was like a teenager to be in their Barcelona camp
Wow.
to learn how to be a Barcelona player. I mean, that's just, you give up your whole life.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I guess because soccer is your life.
because soccer is your life. And we heard that last night by some of these young players. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so, all right, back to Arsenal. I am is it called Merryweather fan? Or
No, a Fairweather.
Fairweather,
fan.
Merryweather. that's the venue. Merryweather Post. Fairweather.
A Fairweather fan.
Fairweather.
Like, fair weather meaning like, oh, it's sunny and beautiful out.
Yes.
So I like today.
Yes, Fairweather.
They're winning. I like them. They're losing.
It's
I'm not
easier.
into
I
it.
think, but I think I'm like that with 90% of sports, just because I've
Mhm.
never been hooked the way. I think I just have too much always in my brain.
I wouldn't say you're a fair weather fan because you don't jump teams. Like, that's what I feel like that really applies to. Is if
Okay,
like
fair enough.
Arsenal was losing and you were like, well, now I like Tottenham.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, definitely not that.
Yeah,
and I would
you
never
don't-
say that word.
I know you wouldn't.
But we don't speak about that team
I know,
in this
but
household.
that's why I gave it as an example. But that's what a fair weather fan would do.
Yeah.
Like, they're only on the bandwagon
Oh, okay.
while the team is
Gotcha.
good.
Yeah,
then
no-
they jump to the next good team.
No. I will stick with teams, but I won't watch all the time because
That's okay.
I have other things. in
Life
my
gets
brain.
in the way sometimes.
So yeah. Last night though, here we are. We're scrolling, trying to find something to watch for 30 minutes. And it's like, do we just go to bed? Do we just?
It was close.
are we
I
like-
almost was like, all right, good night.
Are we just like 80 years old and just say, F it, let's go get under the covers and fall asleep at 8:30?
Man, some days, like, random segue here, but some days I am like, man, like, we're not even 40 yet, and we're like in bed, lights out by 9 p.m. But it's like, we're busy, like, so busy.
I wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
And we have a 1-year-old, and I'm pregnant. And it's like, literally, our little dude goes to bed, and I just want to go get in bed,
Yeah.
like, immediately. Like, I don't care. I just want to lay there and not have to do anything, and
No.
that's okay.
I get it, only because I wake up early. And if I go to bed at 11, my next day is long.
Very long.
So I could care less however it's looked at. All I know is that I got a good 6 hours at least.
I could go to bed right now.
7. I can't go to bed right now. Sometimes I like to say, like, oh, I could just hop in bed and it'd be like 7:30.
Some days,
Mentally,
I
think,
wish you would. I'm like, just come
I know.
snuggle me. Come on.
mentally, I
just
think
take
I
a little
really
nap.
do need like 9:30 is like my sweet spot.
Yeah.
I can go to 10 to 11. I can do 11 to midnight,
Mm-hmm.
but those are drinking hours.
Yeah.
I don't just sit up for.
No.
I'm not just gonna sit on the couch till 11:30 just to sit on the couch.
Mm-hmm. No, I'd rather have the TV on in our room and just fall asleep.
Yeah. So we were scrolling, and here comes Arsenal, and I was pretty surprised because I think you were the one that were like, "Oh, I did hear good things about this." So I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
I'd seen an
well-
article saying that it was a good show.
Well, let's watch the preview." So we watched the preview, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to go in on this."
It looked interesting, but I could not understand anything anybody was saying. And they're speaking English, but with such thick accents that I'm just like, and they're talking about things in soccer that I know nothing about. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll watch it, but I have no idea what just
You
happened
said
in this
at
trailer.
one point you said, "I hope that there's
I
subtitles."
did. I was like, do you think there's going to be subtitles even though they're speaking English? Like, let's turn on the closed captioning so I can understand what they're saying.
Well, I think English though is like English is funny because they have words that are like to them it's been a word for hundreds of years and it means something very specific.
For sure.
To me, it just sounds like marbles.
Right.
I'm
Well,
like-
but
like-
even with like regular words that
Well,
are used across
Yeah,
American English and
yeah.
British English, it's just like, what did they just say? I have no idea.
I love it. I think it's hysterical because
I
most
got
of the
used
time,
to it after a little while.
yeah, you
but
gotta.
It took a minute.
It does, yeah. You really do have to fine tune your ears, and they're fast.
So
It's-
fast.
it's
I
a-
was just gonna say the coach Arteta. Like sometimes I'm just like,
It's a fact,
Run that by me one more time.
and I think he's Spanish.
Well, then it's extra difficult because it's Spanish with English/Spanish accent speaking English.
Yeah, because he's probably been in England with the Premier League
Since he
stuff
played at
for
Arsenal? Yeah.
years. I mean, he has a mixture of Spanish and English.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
For
It is.
me to figure out, but I'm going to get better at it.
Yeah, but we did it. We said, all right, this is it. We're not gonna watch Top Chef tonight.
Although I would.
I get too hungry. But yeah, so we put it on, and I was blown away. I'm more of an Arsenal fan waking up today than I was
For sure.
going to sleep or waking 2 days ago. And
Yeah.
and it boils down to it boils down to like the players and the coaches, like I watched the Spurs for years, not because
Not the Tottenham Spurs.
no go no
Just to clarify.
yeah, I'll have to bleep that out.
We have
Can't
now
believe
suddenly jumped from soccer to basketball, just so everybody knows where we're at here.
Well, I'm using them as an example because I was never a basketball fan. I moved to San Antonio, and I really latched on to the positivity that Coach Popovich had. And they were winning, so it made it
So it
easier.
helped, yeah.
Of course. Like, oh my gosh, I just moved.
Positivity, winning.
I just moved here, and we are champions. This is
Woo.
great.
Awesome.
But they had players like Tim Duncan and Tony Parker. All these players that weren't like technically household names, but they were winning and they were doing really, really good, and they were making people engage, which I think was just so cool. So and Pop, he was a great coach. He just had this really cool, always positive. So watching Mikel Arteta yesterday talk to his players, it was like, oh wow,
He was so inspirational.
he is super inspirational. And the positivity that was flowing from him made me like him even more because I didn't really know him as a player. I've only known him as a coach. And when you see these interviews, the media is so brutal.
Brutal.
And then you add in British media, they're even more brutal. Like,
Oh
they're
my
not going to
gosh.
hold back anything.
No, not at all.
And so you really I don't think you really get a good sense of who they are. You just get a good sense of how well they can answer a question
Right.
or skate by a question.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, why did you guys lose today?
Do. Next question.
Yeah, next question. Next person. Why'd you
Why'd
lose
you guys lose
today?
Well, thanks for coming. That's the end of our media day.
And you can see it when we watch like F1 stuff because it's all British commentary.
Oh man,
And
they are brutal.
brutal. And so the
It is
fans
awesome.
are brutal.
I love
mean,
it.
like every aspect of like being a part of one of these, like, and I don't really know cricket, but I could only imagine that cricket is right up in
I'm
there,
sure.
that people are very honest and very brutal when it comes to telling you how they feel about their team. So when I first started watching Arsenal, we were doing great. And then all of a sudden, very quickly into me watching them, we sucked.
Yeah.
And so I never really got a chance to like really get into it, I think, in the way that I wanted, because we switched coaches three times. We got rid of Wenger, then we got this new guy, and then he was there for 2 seasons and really didn't do much. And then boom,
then Arteta. Yeah.
And over the years, only the things I saw were on either ESPN or the Arsenal app or, on Daily Mail in the sports section. So it's like, okay, well, they're just roasting the guy.
Mm-hmm.
They're just talking about wanting to get rid of him. They need to get rid of him. This is horrible. Like, so last night watching this, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's a really very inspirational person. And so even if you're not an Arsenal fan and you're listening to this, I think watching this as a series, I mean, it's a pretty cool series. I might even venture into watching the Man City one.
Yeah. It does seem like, I mean, we've only watched on one episode, but it seems like it's a very well done
Yeah, it's cut really good.
Series.
They do a pretty good job of like interviewing the players that, not just the popular players. I felt like
Right.
you know they really went in and showcased some players that I was like, oh, that's really cool. Of them.
Like the team doctor, one of the team owners. I thought, you know, I thought it was interesting to have that. He's like the son of the guy who owns like the largest sporting corporation in the world.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting to have him be such a large part of the first episode because he was very supportive of Arteta when everybody wanted him to be fired.
Yeah. I thought that he was, you know how like there is the protagonist and the
Yeah, I thought he was going to end up being like the jerk.
Yeah.
Because he kind of looks that way.
He comes
like if
off
you were gonna give him
very stern.
Yeah, a first like
pretentious.
judgment. Yeah, but then it was he like high fives everybody and like hugging everybody and just seemed super down to earth. Yeah. And I liked his whole thing about like, you know, we just have to stick together and not worry about what everybody outside the organization says. Like they don't know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. We know what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually they will see.
I think that that's what makes great teams happen, though, is that you put faith in people and you purchase. I mean, it sounds crazy, but you spend the money and purchase the right guys.
Yeah.
Because that's technically part of the job, you know, is hiring the right people and putting them in the right positions and going through those growing pains. Because if you switch coaches every year, you show
Pointless.
or there's no dedication.
Yeah.
So why should the players ever be dedicated? Yeah. So
for sure,
I think that it does speak very highly that they are investing in one person. Mm-hmm. And so watching it, I was blown away that here's this guy that comes in and you're like, oh my gosh, he's going to be a villain. He looks like a villain. And at first they kind of showed him that way. You know, he's on his phone, all like typing
being
away.
chauffeured,
typing away. Then he's on his iPad typing away.
Is that what it sounds like?
Then he gets out of his chauffeured car. Walks into the
very silly.
I know. That's what I am. But so we got through it, and there was one part though that I think was the catalyst to their season last year. So to go from winning to a long few years of losing.
They've been not very good the whole time we've been together.
No. And
so
there's been
6 years so far.
There's been a couple games where you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh, there they are. And then
and there was one point where I thought that, and this is why I think this is why we're doing this, talking about it, is because it's not about Arsenal. It's about what I think Arteta said to his players that is really important. And he was showing them, basically he opened up.
Yeah.
Which I think allows everyone to become equal.
I agree.
And looking at it from an employee standpoint to even a person who's been in, you know, a kind of a boss situation to when you make yourself vulnerable to a certain extent, it allows the people around you to know that you're all in. Yeah. You know, and or that you're just as terrified as them, or you're just as
human
happy
as everybody else
as them. Yeah. Because I think a coach can come off as very mechanical, very, you know, the same engine comes in and he pumps the same. Okay, we're going to go out there and get him, team.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when you're a leader, you feel like you have to be perfect in every aspect.
For people to believe you.
For people to look up to you and follow what you say and what you do and stuff like that. And that's not necessarily being the best leader.
Well, yeah, because you're not
Because
showing
nobody's perfect.
Yeah, well, and you're not showing the fact that for you to get into that leader spot, that you had to potentially go through something
For sure.
either very hard, or you failed, or you
Everybody fails.
messed up, or whatever the term is you use. It is very cool to see it though, because you don't see that in the media. You don't see it in the news interviews. Like, oh hey, so you had a rough day yesterday. Is everything all right? Could you imagine if like a news like hey, everything okay? And it's not about coddling or cuddling or being like, oh poor baby. It's not like that. But it was. I do think it's important for leaders to show vulnerability at
Agree.
times. That's it.
Totally agree.
It's not a weakness. It's not anything like that. And so here he comes in, and I think he had two choices. They had lost those 3 games, and he had 2 choices. He could go in there and yell at everyone and tell them all to
and
grow
blame it on
up
everybody.
and blame it on them. Put all the pressure on them. But mentally, all that does to someone is put just more pressure on someone.
Yeah, there's enough pressure.
Yeah, like I don't need to wake up every morning and be like, oh my gosh, my YouTube video only got 1 view. Okay, well, I can't do anything about that. As long as I went through the routine and did everything to the best extent of my ability, it's left into the universe now. Yeah. And I mean, it's out of my hands. If no one clicks on it, then I just have to do it better the next time. I can't then it's like, okay, well, here's this. So he comes in, and he probably could have said the same thing that he said every time to try to encourage them. All right, guys, we're going to go out there and we're going to kick that circle into the goal.
It'll be great.
And we're going to win.
Run hard.
Everybody.
Do stuff.
Yeah. Pace and cleats and grass.
Woo!
And when you score, slide across the field.
Yeah. Make sure you flop a couple of times.
Yeah, you're not flopping good enough over there. I need you to fall on the ground harder.
Have you been going to your acting classes?
Some of them need to go to acting classes.
Big time. So over the
It's like a butterfly, just taps one's shoulder and they go down like a sack.
I can't handle the flops. They drive me insane.
It is pretty hard to watch.
It's ridiculous.
It's pretty hard to watch.
But I digress. So he says.
So he goes in and he explains to them how he started his life as an infant with a heart problem. But right there, vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like, doctors had never operated on anyone like this in this country before, and here I am. So
he was the first one, and he survived. Not only did he survive, became a professional soccer player.
Yeah. So, but there's your first challenge, because then after that, everybody's going to tell you, well, don't run too hard because your heart. Oh, don't do that too much because your heart.
Because your heart.
But you're not helping anybody by doing that.
Right.
You're not pushing someone to their abilities. So if he loves soccer, the worst thing you could do to that kid was to tell him not to run fast.
Right.
So whatever, he gets past that. But then he's like drawing this whole diagram about, where he was on a scale of 1 to 10 in this loss. And he was under the scale. Yeah. He was negative. Which we've all been there. So any person that was in that locker room could have put themselves in those exact shoes and been like, yeah, after that loss,
I felt pretty terrible.
I was a negative too. It's okay to be a negative. There's nothing wrong with that, because at least if you're at like a negative or a 0, well, the only real place you could go is up, hopefully.
Up. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Let's hope.
I mean, you could make it a really, really, really long day the next day and make it worse and go down.
Hopefully you're going to go up.
But the mentality that these players have at such a high level, you have family that watches. You have friends that watch. You have a whole country or, county of whatever it's called in North London, is watching you. They're hoping that your 50 million pound deal makes you, is worth it. And so there is a lot of pressure. So he's right there just being like, guys, look, we're low right now. But if we all come together and do the right things, we can go upwards. Same thing that you and me do to each other.
Yeah.
I come into the kitchen, I'm like, I got a half of you. You're like, how did you get a half of you? I'm
not
like,
even possible.
I don't even know. Like, YouTube sent me this email that said, welcome to the half club.
Never.
I got a plaque on the wall in the bathroom.
Stop it.
It's right above the toilet. It's like, here's your half view.
Not true.
And it's on paper with a Sharpie. It's really awesome.
Not true.
It was mailed to us. You didn't see it?
No.
But So he goes on and he's talking to them, and he says one thing, and I've heard it before too, but what was interesting what he added into the end part is he was like, guys, what is it about it? Is it about the destination or the journey? Mm-hmm. And it's a really cool perspective, because everybody always thinks it's the destination, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm going to ride a goal of getting down to 150 pounds. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if I weigh 170, that's 20 pounds. That's going to be a little bit of time there, right? So there is a journey in there. When you get to 150, though, what do? Just regress and go back to 170?
Right.
No, the journey isn't ending. Like, there is no... And the way that I've heard it said before is there is no destination. Mm-hmm. There is no...
It's just the journey.
There is only a journey involved. And so you have to look at it like that every time that you set a goal, you don't just say, oh, okay, well, I'm done. Mm-hmm. There's another goal. There's multiple goals. There's thousands and thousands of goals that you haven't hit. Mm-hmm. So keep going. The journey is not over. And so it's kind of one of those open-ended questions. Right. If you answer it correctly, you're going to say it's the journey. Mm-hmm. And I think Jordan, Kobe, all those greats have had their own version of that same statement.
Right.
But what he added in was something really cool. Was he said that it was about the company as well.
About the company. So it's not necessarily about the destination and not necessarily about the journey to that destination. It's about the people that you are surrounded with while you're getting there.
Yeah. So when you look at it in a whole, like, now he's talking about all the people that watch.
Yeah.
Your family, you, your teammates, him. And suddenly I think what that does, though, to someone, and when they look at it that way, it eases some of that pressure, because the people around you support you. They want to see you win. Mm-hmm. So take some of that pressure off.
Yeah.
Just understand that it's going to be a hard go, but go out there and do the thing that you love, which is, for them, it was soccer or football. But that's the point, though. He's not saying, like, tomorrow suddenly Arsenal is going to be the best team in the league.
Right.
He's saying, well, this journey is going to be long, so get a hold of it. But also, all the people around you are going to be a part of this journey. Mm-hmm. So let's go have fun.
Yeah, and do it together.
It was very, very inspiring, put it to you that way.
I agree.
Because looking at it from my perspective with what we're doing, that's exactly it. Mm-hmm. It's about the people that I'm interacting with via social media, or whether it's an old friend that text messages, or someone that, just gives me a thumbs up or a heart or whatever platform. Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa, that's cool. I touched someone today, or someone enjoyed this today. So they're part of my journey. Like, that was cool. Or even sometimes when the hate comes in, it's like, well, that person doesn't like me.
Gotta take in every perspective.
But it makes it fun, though. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point, though, is that like, every time I wake up, I don't wake up and go, all right, how can I make another shitty clip for everyone to hate? Like, no, I wake up and I'm like, let's like have some fun today. Let me see what kind of fun content I can find. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I go in there and I'm like, what were we talking about? I'm like, oh gosh.
I thought I did a great episode.
These poor listeners, their ears are bleeding.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Well, we haven't lost that many, so I think we're doing pretty good.
We've been gaining. What are you talking about?
That's what I mean. Yeah. We gain and we lose. We gain and we lose. It's a whole process.
Adding more people to the journey.
But I really, really like Arsenal more now.
I do too. And I'm excited to watch the second episode.
I am too. I actually already watched it today when you took a nap.
No, I didn't take a nap today.
No. When you were gone for a while.
When I was taking a shower.
Yeah.
I wasn't in there for an hour.
I fast forward through the whole thing. I was like, oh, this is so good. Well, there's subtitles.
Terrible.
Yeah, so I don't know. When we were getting ready to do the show today, I had other things in mind, but that one was sitting on the forefront because of what was said in that episode. It just something really cool about it, and there is something very cool about sports documentaries in general. I think it really I think so many of these players, we look at them as only idols, but a lot of them started so young. They never had a lot of the things that we get to do. Like one of these players was talking about how he can't even go out in public and just go eat a dinner without just being mobbed by people.
Yeah, Saka, right, was saying that?
And he's 22.
Yeah, maybe.
He was 19 when he missed the biggest kick of his life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
And took it all in stride. Huge.
I mean... And that's the brutal part, is that we look at them as like we can just say whatever to these people too. And that's a really interesting thing watching this whole documentary, because it puts you back into perspective that they're humans, as though we look at them as like
treated as
sometimes
such.
as like these soccer gods or whatever, or football gods or baseball gods. Some of the hate that they get is brutal.
Crazy.
And we look at, like, it makes me think about some of the things that come out of my mouth towards people just on a daily basis. We should all be a little
more
nicer.
compassionate.
But sure, you're going to be in the car some days and you're going to be like, that. But at the end of the day, like, maybe they're going through something too. Who knows?
You never know.
And we always laugh about this too, because I don't care if people merge in front of me. I'm going to get there at the same time as.
Yeah, it really doesn't make enough of a difference to matter.
But it is funny to watch some people. You can just see them. They're just they have to be in the front, and they are going.
We've all been there at some point, but thankfully we got over.
Yeah. So whatever. That was a little bit of a tangent, but watching it yesterday was really, really cool, because I know what we're going through and what we're slowly building to go through, even at a higher scale. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff has to just be taken in stride. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff has to be looked at as fun as opposed to work. A lot of stuff has to be looked at as growing. Yeah. I mean, the imposter syndrome is a real thing, especially for me, because I'm going from one career at 39 to a completely different career. Yep. That I want to do for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And I found a way to do it. It's just right now I am terrified. Every time I wake up and think about what lies in front of me, I'm like, oh my gosh. But then watching these things, it's like, people do this all the time.
They do.
This isn't like something that
you're not the only one.
Yeah. And that's the one cool thing about you, is that you allow me to rewatch things that are so inspiring all the time. Like, we've watched the Defiant one. I think I've watched the Defiant ones like good. 7 times now, and it's a 4-part. Some of those episodes are an hour and a half long. Yeah, and I've watched.
If you haven't watched that documentary, man, it's amazing. Every time I watch it, I get re-fired up.
That is definitely an inspirational documentary. And then also too, like the Michael Jordan one.
Yeah, we need to watch that one again.
Great documentary. It just goes to show you. I mean, and whoever your sports person is, hopefully they have a documentary about them. Like even that Bo Jackson one that we watched was killer. Mm-hmm. So my point to all of this is, go support Arsenal. Down with Tottenham.
Go watch documentaries.
Go watch documentaries right now. No, but
remember, it's about the company.
It is about the company. It's about
the journey to the destination.
It is the people that you surround yourself with. May they be positive. May they be people who...
If they're not positive, maybe you need to reassess who you're going on the journey with.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with cutting someone out.
Sometimes that's what life requires.
It does. And in all of that, your journey is important. And maybe your journey isn't for everybody either. Mm-hmm. That's another thing too, is everybody can't make everyone happy.
Nope.
You're never going to win them all.
Never.
And I think that was really cool when we were watching, as we wrap this up, we were watching that Mr. Henry talk about missing, he was talking about Saka missing that shot. Mm-hmm. But he was like, how many people would have stood up there to take the shot?
Right.
That's the bigger question, is there's a lot of, what are they called? Armchair cowboys or armchair quarterbacks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
It's like being a backseat driver, basically.
There's a lot of people that want to say, how could you? Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot of people that are willing to take that shot.
Yeah, 100%.
And that right there is the kicker, is that if you're willing to put yourself out there, don't worry about the haters. Don't look side to side. Put those race horse blinders on you and
just go. Just go.
Go.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. It's been a wonderful wonderful Saturday morning, afternoon.
Whatever time it is.
Rain's coming.
Yep.
The heat's out there. The humidity's blazing.
So hot. Ready for fall.
It's like a hot tub out there.
Ready for fall.
Hot fog.
Hot fog. If you don't watch Modern Family, you should.
What's the forecast? A hot fog.
Okay, on that note.
No, we're not done. We had to talk about Liquid IV.
I can't now.
All right. Well, Berkeley is red.
I hate you. Leave me alone.
Drink Liquid IV. Stay hydrated. We love you. Bottoms up.
Bottoms up. Cheers. I'm just crying over here.
I should be a weather forecaster.
Hot fog.
Hot fog. You're like,
I'm so hot.
yeah, because it's hot fog. It's going to rain in this house.
Dying.
All right. Cheers and bottoms up, everyone. Much love. Thank you so much for all the support always. Make sure to go follow us.
Yep.
And stay away from that hot fog.
Hot fog. Bye.
Bye.
I'm going to pee my pants. Oh, I'm crying my makeup off.